Well, it's Sunday, December 14th of 2025, and I'm Jay Essen, and I want to get back and try playing another one of Ryan's games that I haven't played before. Today we are playing a game called Nautilisia, which is one of his older games, and it doesn't really have connection to anything we've played before as far as I know, so this is just going to be something a little new. Connection to anything we've played before. I thought I turned the volume off on that. There we go. Let's try that. Okay. Yeah, I like to make sure that everything's streaming properly on my second device. So, all right. I know. We're gonna be late. But here's the thing. I'm in a coma. Yeah. And my brain has put together this bizarre fantasy world to try and keep me sane or protect my fragile psyche from the trauma of whatever this coma is about, and I can't wake up until I escape from the dream world. And that's going to take a while, because I am really comfortable. I mean in the dream world, and also in the real world, right here. So I don't have a lot of incentive to wake up, I mean. Well, if you're going to be so stubborn about it, you can come in the dream world and solve all the extremely symbolic puzzles and rescue me from my delusions. I guess it's only fair to let you try. But hold on. I said hold on. Let me think of a name for the dream world. It has to be sufficiently fantasy sounding, but it also has to be obviously symbolic of something. Okay, I've got it. Nautilisia. A bizarre and whimsical dream world steeped in pseudo-Jungian symbolism by Ryan Veeder. Yeah, it's a stupid name, but it's the best I can come up with. Stately Manor. Okay, so you start out in this stately manor. It's like stately Wayne Manor in that it's on top of a hill, and it's very expansive and full of expensive things, but there's no labyrinthine cave system underneath it. There's even a big grandfather clock in here that symbolizes punctuality, but it doesn't tell the time, because it's a dream. You can go outside by going south. Just because it's a dream doesn't mean there aren't still compass directions. Work with me. We'll go ahead and start by typing about. Ooh, we have menu-based conversation for the, or menu-based navigation for the help menu or about menu. Let's do introduction to Nautilisia. Okay, let me step out of the narrator character's voice for a second. Thank you very much for playing Nautilisia. This game started out as a parody of dream logic-oriented IF, but now that it's done, I feel like maybe it's turned into more of an homage? Or maybe that's not up for me to decide. The paradigm example of the dream logic game is Sarah D's Madam Spider's Web, a really wonderful piece which I highly recommend. I'd love to know what you think of Nautilisia. If you have any kind of feedback or questions or that kind of thing, please send them in the direction of rcveeder@me.com. This game would be a lot less interesting if it weren't for my awesome beta testers, Heidi Poe, Amanda Lang, Emily Bogheim, and Zach S. They are the best. Post-beta help came from Melvin and Andrew and Matthew and probably someone else. I feel like I'm forgetting someone. Shoot. Sorry. Anyway, thanks again for playing. I'll get back into character now. Please press space to continue. Instructions for play are going to be the typical interactive fiction instructions. Yeah, so we can go ahead and disregard that. I think that all comes from one of the more common extensions that are included, if not actually built into Inform at this point. Let's examine ourselves. You look like yourself. Don't overthink it. Jump. You hop up in the air, but are unable to stay aloft. I've never been able to fly in a dream, so I'm deciding you can't fly either. Sing. Dankeschön, darling, Dankeschön. Thank you for all the joy and pain. Or however that tune goes. Let's... Can we dance? Your dancing is abominable. Quit ruining my dream world. Let's examine the clock. There aren't even any hands or numbers. The face of the clock is just a spinning, spiraling shape, and when you look at it, you realize that time is meaningless. There's also that chamber underneath the face where they keep the pendulums. In the big grandfather clock are some zigzaggy pendulums. I cannot take the pendulums because the big grandfather clock isn't open. Let's open it. Okay, so you open up the clock, and there are these 2 pendulums inside. I don't know how they work. Now I try taking the pendulums. You pick up the zigzaggy pendulums. I examine them. There's 2 of them, and they're made out of this white iridescent substance, and they're in a weird shape, like a zigzag shape. They're basically 2 long white zigzags. Fair enough. We look again. Okay, yeah, let's just go ahead. We can't go down because... No, you can't go running around the stately manor. I don't have the creative energy to decide what's in there. Just pretend there's a curse or something on the rest of the manor, and the curse is keeping you from going to any rooms other than the one you're in. If you want to leave, you can go south. We'll go south to Hill. As you exit the manor and symbolically shed the shackles of civilization, the sweet summer wind blows like a piccolo song across your weathered brow. So, from up here in front of the stately manor, you can see all the rest of the island, which I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but my dream world has taken the form of an island. To your right, which is west if you're facing south, is a thick jungle, with leaves that are deep greens and purples in their colors. It symbolizes the terror and the wonderment of the unknown, but it is impenetrable to you from where you're standing. Down the hill to the southwest is a white sandy beach. I'll tell you what it symbolizes when you get there. Let's see if we can examine those objects from here. If we examine the manor, I can't see any such thing. Let's examine the jungle. The jungle is thick and leafy. It represents... What did I say it represented? Maybe danger? And the beach. You can't examine the sand from way up here. Well, okay, so the jungle is the terror of the unknown, so obviously I want to put that off. And the beach, we don't get to learn what it symbolizes until we get there, which is tantalizing. So naturally, we're going to go southwest. Enchanted Gulf. The gulf that this enchanted beach envelops is itself enchanted, or ensorcelled, with a magical glamour which makes everyone who sees it want to just sit around and take a break for once in their lives. It symbolizes taking a break for once in your life. Only you are able to resist this enchantment because you alone are so incredibly uptight about getting stuff done all the time and being on time for things. I'm sensing some aggression that is rapidly advancing from passive to active aggression. Back to the northeast is the hill, and over to the west is that dark, scary jungle. A little ways out into the water is a white ship, pitching and yawing on the restless sea. A siren is here, sitting and singing on a coral reef. I'll examine the siren. A siren is actually supposed to be a bird woman, I guess, but I want this sea maid to be more like a mermaid. From the hips down, she is 100% fish, but from the fish up, she is 100% woman, with long, streaming hair. And she's singing a song, but it's not like she's going to hypnotize you or anything. She's not evil. She symbolizes the beauty that can be found in life if you don't take everything so seriously all the time. No period. She's wearing a girdle, which is kind of a curvy belt kind of thing. This is kind of interesting after having been playing Hades 2, because that game also has a siren who is decidedly more fish-like than bird-like, although that siren is more of a shellfish than a fish. I'll examine the girdle. The siren's girdle is a pale, opalescent belt thing, pulled snug around her waist. It is the only thing she's wearing. If I try talking to the siren smiles and says hello. She is extremely helpful and would love to tell you about anything you want to ask her about. Well, I want to ask her about the clock. The siren knows all about clocks. They're great. And grandfather clocks in particular are great because they have that compartment in the bottom that you can open up. Which is true. We did that. Let's ask the siren about the ship. The siren doesn't want to say anything about the shipwreck, but she seems suspiciously proud of herself. That's reasonable. Let's ask Siren about me. She says she likes you just fine. although you could stand to loosen up once in a while. I'll ask the siren about you. She says that I am a wonderful friend, and that you should go ahead and take your time waking me up from this coma that I'm in, because it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Well, let's ask the siren about the siren. She smiles. She says she's doing just fine. Thanks for asking. Let's ask the siren about her girdle. Do you like it? She asks. I got it on Etsy for like $16. That seems like a reasonable rate, but I don't know much about the price of girdles. Let's look once more. Let's ask her about the jungle. She says that she is a fan of the jungle, but can't hang out there as much as she'd like because her legs are a fish. Okay, yeah, I cannot dispute that. Let's try going to the ship. Let's examine the ship first. Apparently wrecked here on the shallow reef. It's white and shiny, like something out of a dream. I mean, it literally is in this dream that I'm describing to you right now. It symbolizes... Actually, go in there first. Give me a second to think about this. I tried to enter the ship. Did this stupid browser try to autocomplete to enter shipping address? Something like that? That's Microsoft Edge for you. I only use it to play interactive fiction while I'm streaming. My usual browser is Firefox. Ship of Pearl. When you are inside the ship, you realize that it symbolizes loneliness. Specifically, loneliness brought on by being an artist, which all artists suffer from deep inside their souls. This is the Ship of Pearl, which painters sail into the seas of paint, and which sculptors sail across seas of clay and of marble, searching for the distant moorages of inspiration. I could keep going, but you don't seem to be as into this as I am, so I guess I'll stop. The interior of the ship is lit by a pale, eerie luminescence. It looks like whatever painter or poet who piloted this craft last left their leather trunk in here. Let's examine that trunk. A large leather trunk, scratched and pitted by the slings and arrows of being lugged all over the place for years and years. It symbolizes mystery. The mysterious initials OWH are inscribed on top. It has a big lock thing on it, but no keyhole. Instead, there's just two depressions in the front, in the shape of the astrological symbol for Aquarius. See? Symbolism. Can we open the trunk in spite of its supposed lockedness? No, it is locked. Can we just unlock the trunk like that? With the zigzaggy pendulums. Oh, that makes sense. That would make the Aquarius shape. You insert the pendulums into the depressions and they click into place. The pendulums were the symbol for Aquarius all along, and the symbol was the key to the trunk. You solved the mystery. The trunk opens, revealing a wreathed horn. I examined the horn. It's a huge, conical spiral shell of the type you often find on islands, like in that book, Animal Farm. Wait, that's not it. That wasn't even on an island. What book am I thinking of? It looks like somebody has already drilled a hole in it for you to blow into. Well, let's go ahead and take the horn. It has a strange weight to it. Can I blow into the horn now, or do I have to wait for a suitably symbolic moment? You start to blow into the horn, but the tremendous sound that emerges is too much for you to handle. It symbolizes the conclusion of the individuation process, which, if attained prematurely, would result in a psychological short circuit. What I'm saying is, this is not the time or place for unleashing the power of the horn. Okay, as anticipated, we need to save our breath for such a moment. Let's look once more. Can we examine the luminescence? Since this is a bizarre and mystical dream world, you are able to pick up and mess around with the luminescence, but since I don't know how that would actually work, I'm going to have to ask you to stop doing that. Okay. Let us... Okay, so we're inside the Ship of Loneliness. Let's go outside to the Enchanted Gulf. Oh, excuse me. Sleepy. Back to the northeast is the hill, and over to the west is that dark, scary jungle. Let's ask Siren about the horn. When you bring up the wreathed horn, the Siren's eyes go wide. That horn is an artifact of tremendous psychic potential, she whispers. Either that or it symbolizes psychic potential. She could not be more correct. Let's go west. To the jungle. I keep forgetting what this jungle is supposed to symbolize. I think it was the subconscious mind. The branches, heavy with purple leaves, lean down toward you in a vaguely threatening way. It's a scary experience, but it's also kind of exciting. That's the fun of being in a coma-induced dream world. A rough path through the vegetation leads from the gulf to the east to a clearing in the northwest. A long vine hangs from the trees, swaying like a snake in front of your face. I'll examine the vine first. It dances hypnotically before your vision. It's a symbol of risk. You have to take risks, see? Otherwise you can't get anywhere in life. I try to climb the vine. After giving a little resistance, the vine falls to the ground, dislodging something from the branches in the process. When the entire length of the vine has fallen, it turns into a giant green snake, which slithers off into the jungle. That snake symbolizes the horrible things that can happen when you take risks. The thing you dislodged finally hits the ground. It's a shell, a Venus comb. That thing could have killed you. You see what happens when you take risks? We'll examine the Venus comb. It's a seashell spiral in a shape and conical in form, but it's covered in dozens of long, skinny spines, like a hairbrush designed by H.R. Geiger. It symbolizes beauty as a desirable, but fundamentally dangerous aspect of experience. I take the comb. Can we still see the vine from here? No, it's gone. Let's go back to the east. Ask Siren about comb. Yeah, it was a Venus comb, and I lost it. I think it ended up on the island somehow. Could you go look for it? She asks. Give comb to Siren. Is this what I think it is? Where on earth did you find this? Well, anyway, thank you. She takes the comb from you and immediately starts brushing her hair. I suppose it's customary to repay you somehow, right? Well, here. She takes off her girdle, which dream logically turns into something else, I guess, and hands it to you. I am carrying a Siren's girdle. It's a seashell, spiral, examine girdle. Now that she's not wearing it, the Siren's girdle has turned into more of a two-dimensional, curvy H shape, like a crude drawing of a girdle being worn around an hourglass waist. It's still pale and opalescent, though. A curvy H shape? Okay, yeah, I guess I can see how that would depict a girdle on like a line art drawing. Okay, well now we go back to the west so that we can continue through the clearing to the northwest. This is an open area in the jungle, symbolizing the eye of the storm. It isn't the center of the jungle, but it's the center of your experience at this point in time. It's like the guy says, wherever you go, there you are. The path leading back into the jungle is southeast of here, but to your north is a rock wall, carved with a curious design. We examine that design. It's a carving, a depression kind of thing, in the shape of the astrological symbol for Pisces, which is a fish shape? Or is it the H? I think it's the H. Let's examine a tree while we're here. The branches of the tree sway with magnificent slowness in the ocean breeze. Put girdle in depression. The girdle, which was all along the symbol for Pisces, fits perfectly into the slot on the wall. Both of them dissolve into a silver mist. You overcame the dream logic and defeated the puzzle. This is my favorite one, by the way, because I'm a Pisces. Anyway, good job. It turns out that behind the rock is a huge cave. I examine the cave. It's a pretty rad-looking cave. You should go in there and check it out. Can I examine the path from here? I can't see any such thing. Let's go in. Caves of Thought. You have finally found your way to the Caves of Thought. This cave represents thought and thinking. There are stalactites and stalagmites and that kind of thing, but the area has been kept mostly empty so as not to distract from your meditations as you approach the center of the island. The tunnel continues to the northeast, but if you want, you can return to the light and air of the clearing to the south. Okay, so that was to the north to enter the cave, which makes sense because the wall was to the north of the clearing. Okay. Examine a stalactite. I actually don't remember the difference. Stalagmites might. They might something. Man, this is going to keep me up all night. Or it would if I wasn't in a coma. My mnemonic device is that stalactites, T for top. So they are above, hanging down, and stalagmites thus are in the bottom, pointing up. Let's examine anything else while we're here. Tunnel? No, can't see any such thing. Let's go northeast to the deep caves of thought. This cave represents deep thought. See, there are always deeper levels of thought. Getting really deep in thought is a necessary step on the path to self-attainment. So keep going. The way out is southwest, but the deeper caves are to the east. So we're going to go deeper still. The deeper caves of thought. I know, it probably seems like there are too many sections in this cave. I totally understand why you would feel that way. But having a bunch of caves like this is a necessity. It's called pacing. Just trust me. Even deeper caves are to the south. The less deep caves are west of here. Is there a better place to just think? Your thoughts reverberate against the walls, bouncing around and multiplying and colliding and eventually canceling each other out. That seems counterproductive. Let's go south, then, to the very deep caves of thought. Okay. Here, for once, is something more interesting than just more caves. At this curve in the tunnel, the east wall is made up of a bunch of rocks. I mean, the whole place is made out of rocks, but these rocks are smaller and rubblier. The cave continues to the north and southwest. Let's examine the rubble. The rocks. It looks like this wall of rocks is in a state of very low entropy. It looks like something drastic could very easily happen to this wall if somebody were to yank on part of it. This wall of rocks represents potential. Can we yank the potential? Not that way. We can yank the rocks. You pull out one of the rocks from the wall. The rest of the rocks immediately fall down in a big pile. But then, a rush of air, a shaft of light. You've uncovered a path to the surface. Nice job. Let's say this symbolizes an act of mutual recognition between your conscious and unconscious minds. I mean, my conscious and unconscious minds. Either way, good going. Can we go up to the hill? All right. Yeah, so we successfully connected the beginning of the game to this point. Let's go back down into the very deep caves of thought. Here's the place in the tunnel where there's an exit to the surface instead of an east wall. The cave continues to the north and southwest. We go southwest to the incredibly deep caves of thought. Sorry, this is another room where there isn't really anything going on. I swear I'm not doing this just to frustrate you. I know sometimes it seems like I'm doing stuff just to be annoying, but I always have a good reason. I mean, I always think I have a good reason. Sometimes it turns out later that I didn't actually have a good reason, but I never start out with the intention of doing nothing but screwing with you. The caves go northeast and northwest from here. Let's go northwest to the uttermost depths of the caves of thought. This is it. You have reached the deepest part of the caves. From here on out, you've still got underground rooms, but it's more like an ancient underground shrine than a plain old cave. From here, you can go back southeast, or you can go northeast, in which direction you can discern an unearthly glow. But first, gaze into that pool of still water and see the face of your destiny. In the water, I examine the water In the pool is a goatfish. Let's examine the goatfish. It's a baby goatfish, maybe more of a kid fish. It only has little nubby horns, and the fish end of it wriggles around energetically. This baby goatfish represents youthful idealism, or youthful ignorance. I guess those are kind of the same thing. Can I take the goatfish? It takes a couple tries, but eventually you scoop the baby goatfish up out of the pool. It emits a few high-pitched bleats, and then it calms down in your comforting grasp. The kidfish crawls up to your shoulder and tries to headbutt you in the neck. Well, that's fun. Let's go northeast to the shining archway. This room is awash in light. In the south wall, an archway towers over you, glowing as if reflecting the brightness of a distant galaxy. The room with the pool is back to the southwest, and it looks like there's a shortcut to the east. I put that shortcut there just for you. The baby goatfish wriggles its way up your arm. What's to the east? The very deep cave of thought. Here's the place in the tunnel where there's an exit to the surface instead of an east wall. The cave continues to the north and southwest, and there's that tiny shortcut to the shining archway to the west. The goatfish bleats a little bleating song. Let's go west, back to the shining archway. And now that we're here, and the goatfish is nibbling on our finger, let's examine the archway. This archway is a symbol of the ultimate, the penultimate barrier between my comatose mind and the outside world. It literally is that, but it's also symbolically that. The lines are beginning to blur. The path through the arch is blocked by a big door. The baby goatfish almost falls to the ground, but you catch it. Let's examine that door. This idle door is actually the barrier you have to worry about. I guess if the arch is the symbolic barrier, then this door is the literal barrier. By literal here, I mean literal within the dream world. In the door is another keyhole depression, this one in the shape of, like, a V with a ridiculous curly thing attached to it. All of a sudden, the baby goatfish yawns and falls asleep. The goatfish is... which sign? It's not Aquarius and it's not Pisces, because we just did those two. The other water sign. Water signs in Zodiac. It's not Scorpio, I don't think. Zodiac signs. Okay. Let's see. We've got... These are not nearly sufficiently, like... Capricorn? Is it a fish version of Capricorn? Let's try that. Put Capricorn in depression. The goatfish in the keyhole depression. See, that would make sense, but the goatfish is a literal dream goatfish, not a Capricorn symbol. You've got a classic confusion between signifier and signified on your hands. Okay. I tried to get clever when it was not going to be time to get clever. Let's examine that goatfish. What do I do then? We've got the goatfish. We've got a wreathed horn. And we've got the door. Do we need to take the goatfish somewhere? Let's try that. Let's go east, up, southwest. Ask Siren about goatfish. The siren tells you she's extremely worried about the well-being of her little goatfish Taryn, who got lost in a cave. Taryn is the name of the father of Marin, the character who rescues Link from the shipwrecked beach in The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. Taran is kind of a rascally fellow who gets himself into troublesome situations on a number of occasions. Let's give Taran to Siren. Her jaw drops. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! You brought Taran! The goatfish leaps into the siren's arms with a triumphant bleat, and she immediately begins cooing over it. You know, I actually have the perfect reward for you. Check this out. She produces a piece of pearlescent material from an invisible drawer or something. Do you recognize this? It's the symbol for Capricorn. It's thematically appropriate because Taran here is a goatfish, right? Anyway, I want you to have it. She hands it to you. I'll examine the Capricorn symbol. Here's the thing. This isn't literally the symbol for Capricorn. It's a pearly white object in the shape of the symbol for Capricorn. That's what they call the type token distinction. Anyway, all this means is the thing looks like a V with a curly thing hanging off the side, or maybe a lowercase n with a kink in its right leg. I don't know what it's supposed to be. Let's go back to the northeast, go down, and go west. And now let's put Capricorn in depression. The Capricorn symbol in the keyhole depression. The Capricorn symbol slides into place with a click. The door dematerializes. Its constituent dream atoms disappearing into the dream ether. Nice job. The path to the final challenge is now open. We go south to the Sunless Crypt. You have reached the end of your quest. Here, at the center of Nautilisia, is the Sunless Crypt that symbolizes the spiritual and psychological profundity of the coma that I've been in all this time. The ceiling above roils with iridescent turmoil, symbolizing the conflux of emotions that are going on in my brain. A spiral design on the floor leads your gaze toward the center of the room, which is the center of Nautilisia. Lying prostrate on a dais of nacreous stone and wrapped in webs of gauze is my own comatose body. Examine you. That's definitely me. You'd know my face anywhere, and I'm definitely in a coma. This symbolizes the fact that I'm in a coma right now. So this is the final puzzle. How can you possibly wake me up and release my mind from this nice nap? I mean, this coma. This game feels especially appropriate to play today because I actually spent the first few hours this morning just kind of snoozing in bed when I really should have gotten up much earlier. So it's a day for napping in comas. Let's, obviously the solution is going to be to blow on the horn, but before we do that, let's examine the turmoil. The irised ceiling of the crypt casts all kinds of weird colored lights across the room, symbolizing the blurring of self, shadow, anima, and animus. It also symbolizes emotional turmoil. It symbolizes both things at the same time. That's part of the blurring. Let's examine as well the dais. The word nacreous looks like it means gross, but it actually refers to the texture of nacre, i.e. mother of pearl. So you can imagine this dais is like a great big pearl growing out of the floor. I guess when I put it that way, it sounds kind of gross anyway. Okay, enough messing around. Let's blow on horn. When you put your lips to the wreathed horn, it emits a huge, deep moan like a mob of whales singing in unison. The ceiling rumbles. The sleeper stirs. I'm trying to decide how many times you should have to blow the horn to make me wake up. How about 9? Blow on horn again. Okay, I'm getting elaborate. I could just do again. The conch blasts again, like waves crashing on a glass beach. The vibrations shake the irised ceiling. Yeah, 9 is probably too many. How about 7? Fine, because I like you 3 times. Just one more time. Can we kiss you? Oh, Oh, that's adorable. That wasn't the solution I had in mind, but maybe it should work. Do you think that should be what wakes me up? No. I'm sorry, that's not true love's kiss. That's uh, respect and affection's kiss. So let's say it doesn't work. Okay, that's fine. Let's say you kiss me, but nothing happens. Go ahead and try to figure out the real solution. Blow on horn. You blow into the wreathed horn again, like with a tone like a hurricane inside a crystal bell. Then the ceiling cracks and shatters, and the light of the sun, symbolizing the clarity of conscious thought, shines into the previously sunless crypt, which symbolizes the stagnancy of absolute introspection, right onto my unconscious body, which symbolizes me. And then everything goes white. And now I'm awake. Look, see? I'm awake. We can get going now. Anyway, thanks for putting up with all that nonsense. I know I probably goof off too much, and it gets to be a pain some of the time. I really do want both of us to have fun, even if some of the time the only one having any fun is me, so I really appreciate your tolerance. I guess tolerance isn't the right word. You know what I mean. No, seriously, thank you. Would you like to restart, restore a saved game, see some suggestions for amusing things to do, quit, or undo the last command? Let's go ahead and see some amusing things to do. Have you tried listening to a shell? Listening to the siren's songs? Anything you wouldn't be able to get away with in the real world? Manipulating something intangible? Thinking? Jumping? All that nonsense? We did a couple of those. We also did try manipulating something intangible. Drawing a map. No, we didn't try that. Swimming? Swimming in different bodies of water? No, it never occurred to me actually to use the word command swim, despite the fact that we were actually moving through the water earlier. Feeling a bunch of different things. No, I didn't. Tasting a bunch of different things? Again, that really should have been something that occurred to me. Sitting on a reef? I did not. Looking for an alternate wind condition? Yes, we did do that. So there are some options for additional things to do. I would encourage you to explore those things at your own leisure. Alternately, if you haven't considered doing so, I would recommend joining Ryan's Patreon so that you can access things like his annotated source codes. Let me see here, because I really think that they are a tremendous value for what you're getting. What you get for what you're spending is excellent. I really love it. And that is part of the reason why I was excited to play this game, is because a long time ago, I briefly skimmed a little bit, not the entirety, but a little bit of this game's source code, and these annotations are really excellent. I wanted to give you just a brief preview, if I can figure out how to do it. Let's add a source. This is... what is this? This is a window. Can I add that? Here is a window capture of yep, okay, here we go. Firefox. Yeah, here we go. Annotated source code for Nautilisia by Ryan Veeder. It has this great introduction, and then he goes through and explains all kinds of things about the history and how he got involved in like trying to make this game, how he distinguishes it from his other projects and his goals. It's excellent. Read these things. They're cool. So, that's something else I was watching. Let's just go ahead and say thank you so much for joining me today while I played through this, and I will eagerly await my next stream in a week, probably. So, thanks for watching. Have a great day.